Hello students, welcome back to geography class. So up till now we had seen what factors affect the Indian climatic conditions. You all saw about two factors, that was latitude and altitude. Now I understand some of you may need a refresh, okay, you may not remember it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to link the previous video in the description box. So if in case you do not remember how a latitude or an altitude affects the Indian climate, you can go and have a look. So latitude, that is Tropic of Cancer, passes through our country, and what does that make? That makes India's climate tropical as well as subtropical, because Tropic of Cancer passes through our country and divides our country into almost two equal halves. Next, we had learnt about altitude. Altitude means India has mountain ranges in the north that has an average height of about 6,000 meters. We also have such a vast coastal area, and over there also the maximum elevation is around 30 meters. So while the Himalayas in the north, they prevent the cold winds, okay, the cold winds of the Central Asia from entering our country, these mountains, okay, it's also because of these mountains that subcontinent experiences, that our country experiences milder winters compared to the Central Asia. Now today we are going to learn how the pressure and winds, they govern how do pressure and winds, how does the pressure and wind system of India, how do they play an important role in the climatic conditions of India? What factor do they play? So basically the climate of India, they are governed by three atmospheric conditions. Okay, there are three conditions that we need to focus on when we are looking at pressure and winds as the factor of climatic condition. Number one is the pressure and surface winds. Number two is upper air circulation. And number three is western cyclonic disturbances. So today's class is going to focus on these three things only. All right. Now, factors that affect the climate, we know that water bodies, that means large water bodies like lakes and oceans, they have a very important effect on the temperature of the area, because the temperature of that water body will influence the temperature of the air around above it. And atmospheric circulation means the global winds are also a factor that influences climate, because they distribute heat and moisture around the earth. Which are the natural processes? Solar activity. When the sun is the most active, it contains dark blemishes called sunspots. The formation of sunspots appears to correspond with warm periods in Europe and North America. And also the Earth's motion, the geographic changes in the Earth's land and water bodies, they also cause changes in the climate. Changes in the shape of Earth's orbit and the tilt of Earth on its axis, they are the other Earth's motion that will affect global climates. Then human impact on climatic changes is the greenhouse effect. The greenhouse effect is a natural warming of both Earth's lower atmosphere and Earth's surface from the solar radiation, which is being absorbed and emitted by the atmosphere. And we all know about the global warming, which is a result of the increased levels of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases. Global temperatures have now increased. This increase is called global warming. So these are the major factors that normally affect any climatic conditions. Now, the climate and associated weather conditions in India, they are governed by three atmospheric conditions: pressure and surface winds, upper air circulation, and western cyclonic disturbances and tropical cyclones. India lies in the region of northeasterly winds. These winds they originate from the subtropical high pressure belt of the northern hemisphere. So when these winds they originate over there, they start blowing southwards and they get deflected due to the Coriolis force, and they get deflected due to the Coriolis force, and they move towards the equatorial low pressure area generally. So basically, if you look in this image, the winds they originate from the subtropical high pressure belt, that is here. The winds originate over here. Okay, these winds they originate from the subtropical high pressure belt of the northern hemisphere, and they blow south. Okay, and they get deflected to the right due to the Coriolis force, and they move on towards the equatorial low pressure area generally. So basically, they are moving southwards and they are being pushed towards the right because of the Coriolis force. Okay, and they go towards the equatorial region. So they automatically will come somewhere in here towards the India. Okay. Now these winds they carry very little moisture and they originate and they blow over the land. So they bring little or no rain. So India should have been an arid land, because these winds that are coming to India, so when these winds they come to the equatorial region, at the equators the temperatures are high. Okay, and land and water heats up as a result of these warm the air above them. Air that is heated at the equatorial region rises to the top of the atmosphere, and the more air rising beneath it forces the air mass to spread north and south towards the poles. Now, the rotation of Earth causes all moving objects in the northern hemisphere, including the air mass, to deflect to the right, and those in the southern hemisphere to deflect to move towards the left. Okay, so the Coriolis effect is absent at the equator, and it is the most at the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere. This effect it prevents the direct simple flow from equator to the poles. It prevents the flow from equator to the poles, and this is also called as Ferrel's law. Okay, so now we know that these winds they originate in the subtropical high pressure area in the northern hemisphere. They start moving southwards because of the Coriolis force, and they move towards the equatorial low pressure areas. When they go towards these equatorial low pressure areas, these winds they have very little moisture, okay, and so they bring very little or no rains. So according to this, India should have been an arid land, but it is not. But India is not an arid land. Let us understand why. See, this is the Coriolis effect that you can see over here. See, this is the actual path. This should have been the intended path. So when it comes, it takes a turn. Can you see this? This is your equator. When the winds come here, it actually goes upwards. It starts going to the left or the right. Okay? Now, let's understand why India is not is not a country which has only arid land, because the pressure and wind conditions in India is unique. During winter, there is high pressure in the north of the Himalayas, and cold, dry winds blow from this region to low pressure areas over the oceans to the south. This is what happens in the winter. These winds, they blow from Himalayas. These are cold, dry winds. They blow towards the low pressure areas of the oceans. Oceans are at the south of India. Now in summer, what happens? A low pressure area develops over the interior of Asia and in the northwestern India. This causes a complete reversal of the direction of winds during the summer, and air moves from the high pressure area in the southern Indian Ocean, okay, to in a southeasterly fashion. It crosses the equator and it turns right towards the low pressure area over the Indian subcontinent. These are known as southwest monsoon winds. These winds, they blow over the warm oceans, they gather moisture, and they bring widespread rainfall over the mainland of India. These winds, they blow over the warm oceans, they take all the moisture, and then they bring lots and lots of rainfall in the mainland of India. Okay, see this image here. We can see the high pressure in winter, how the wind blows, and in low pressure in summer, how does the wind blow. Okay, now the coastal areas, they have an equable climate, whereas the interior parts, they have extreme conditions. This is known for us. I think you all have known this for the longest of times. The coastal areas like Mumbai, Chennai, the ones that are closer to the coast, we have an equable climate, not very hot, not very cold kind of a climate. But the ones in the interiors like Delhi, they have an extreme climatic condition. That means it gets very hot and it gets very cold. Okay. Now, relief also plays a major role in determining the climate of a place. High mountains, they act as barriers for cold or hot winds. They also cause precipitation if they are high enough, and they also lie in the path of the rain-bearing winds. And the leeward side of the mountains, they remain relatively dry. So in India, over here the Western Ghats, we receive lots of rainfall, but like you can see, the other side is the leeward side, and over there, when the monsoon winds come, the mountains, they are high enough to stop them, and they are in the place, and one side receives lots of rainfall, whereas the other side receives low rainfall. This is the rain shadow effect, where you have cool wet air which goes up. On the other side, we have warm, dry air. One is the windward side, the other is the leeward side. This is the Himalayas, how it is saving us from the cold waves in the Central Asia, and also the monsoon winds. They also bring in lots of rainfall. Now, another important thing is the upper air circulation in the region. It is dominated by a westerly flow. An important component of this flow is the jet stream. Now these jet streams, they are located over 27 degrees to 30 degrees in the north latitude, and so they are known as subtropical westerly jets. They are also called subtropical westerly jet streams. Okay. Now what happens is, in over India, these jet streams, they blow south to the Himalayas all year except in summer. Okay, so what is jet stream? Basically, this jet stream is, these are narrow belts of high altitude. That is, we are talking about 12,000 meters. Okay, these are narrow belts of high altitude westerly winds in the troposphere, and their speed varies from 110 kilometers an hour in summer to 184 kilometers an hour in winter. A number of separate jet streams have been identified, and the most constant are the mid latitude and the subtropical jet stream. These are the most constant jet streams that have been identified around India. See, these are, you can see, these are the jet streams. These are belts, these are narrow belts of high altitude westerly winds, and these are in the troposphere. Their speed varies from 110 kilometers an hour to 184 kilometers an hour. So over India, these jet streams, they blow south of the Himalayas all year except in summer. Now what happens is the western cyclonic disturbances which are experienced in the north and northwestern parts of the country, they are brought in by this westerly flow. Okay, so the western cyclonic disturbances are brought in by this westerly flow, and in summer the subtropical westerly jet stream moves north of the Himalayas with the apparent movement of the sun. An easterly jet stream, which is called the tropical easterly jet stream, it blows over the peninsular India approximately over 14 degrees north during the summer. Okay. Now, western disturbances. This is the last part for today's class. Western disturbances. Now, the western cyclonic disturbances are weather phenomena of the winter months, which is brought in by the westerly flow from the Mediterranean region. They usually influence the weather of the north and northwestern regions of India. Tropical cyclones occur during the monsoon as well as in October-November, and they are part of easterly flow. These disturbances, they affect the coastal regions of the country. Have you heard about the disasters caused by them on Orissa and Andhra Pradesh coast? Well, we all have. So your homework or your research work, not even homework, is to find out how the western disturbances, that is the western cyclonic disturbances or the westerly winds, they affect the coast of Orissa. I only want you to find out which disasters were a result of the western disturbances on the coast of Orissa, and I want you to find out the day, date, time. Of course, not the time, the day, date, and which season was it, which month was it. All right. So I want you to list it out and send me a picture so that I know you've done the work. Write them down in your notebook. How has the western disturbances brought in disasters or was responsible for the disasters on the coast of Orissa? So this is the Mediterranean Sea over here. Okay, and the westerly flow, these winds, they flow, they are brought in from the Mediterranean region and they influence the weather of the north and the northwestern regions of India. And these tropical cyclones, they occur only during the months during the monsoon season, okay, during the monsoon as well as in October, November. So basically from around June to November, and they are a part of the easterly flow. These disturbances, they affect the coastal regions of the country. So I want you to find out the names of the disaster that took place on the coast of Orissa because of the western cyclonic disturbances. Alright, so with this I'm ending today's class, children. I will link the video for the previous class over here in case you all need a recap. With this, I end today's class. Children, stay home, stay safe, take care, keep learning. Thank you.